4C Divers! Welcome to Facebook Live. We are super excited to have you here tonight. All right. So, like we always do, let's check in and see who is listening in. If you are listening in, give us a little hello in the comments section and say hello by giving us a thumbs up, a smiley face, or a heart emoji. Lets us know that you are listening in. If you want to write hello to us and tell us where you're listening in from, that would be awesome. And also, if you want to write a little secret message to Rachel, you can say hi to her as well. All right. So tonight we're going to be talking about travel stuff. And the reason why is in February, it is our travel months where we like to highlight the trips that we're going to be taking and other things that you need to know about trips. And also the gear to buy at 4C to help you get on these trips. And how funny that I am reporting to you live from the 4C trip to Salt Key. And this is what we saw today. Yes. Look at that, guys. We are down here. We are swimming with the humpback whales. And
So cool.
we have it's actually a trio. So you only see two in the video because the third one was kind of back behind and didn't get it on video. But that is what we saw today. And we also had moms and calves, and we saw a lot of mating behavior. So it was cool to see like their pectoral fins coming out of the water and the tail slapping. So guys, don't worry, we'll be posting those later. We just need to get them off our cameras and onto social media. But guys, we're having a fantastic time on this trip. And that's what everybody always says about all of our trips. If you come out with us, please let us know in the comment section. What trip have you done with 4C? Go ahead and write it in the comments because we want to see who's listening in. Awesome. Well, I am not going to be the one presenting tonight. We're going to have our travel manager presenting about travel packing. So I'm going to go ahead and let Rachel take the floor, and she'll talk to you all about this awesome topic that's going to help your lives better when it comes to traveling with 4C.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Okie dokie. It is my pleasure to bring to you all of the tips and tricks and everything that is involved in packing for a dive trip. So thanks, guys. I know we all have lives and other things going on, but this is something I am really excited to share with you guys because there are a lot of people that go traveling, and this is like a trial and error. So things that we have learned over many years and many experiences on trips far and wide for us to learn and how to pack like a pro. Okay. So I'm going to start. I'm going to go over so many different things. And then the end of this presentation, we will open it up to some questions for you. Okay. So if you don't already know me, my name is Rachel. I am the dive travel manager for 4C, and that is my favorite part about the dive industry is traveling and exploring new places and seeing new cultures and new landscapes, and also, you know, coming home and loving our local Florida reefs as well. But just to introduce myself, I've been doing dive travel for about 14 years, and I love traveling, and I hope you guys do too. So why is it important when we're packing to have a checklist? Checklists are wonderful because they help you not forget things. And after this presentation, we have a downloadable checklist that I have handcrafted for you guys so that you can keep that, you can print it out, or you can keep it on your phone so that while you're packing for a travel destination, you can look at it and reference it so that you don't forget things, okay? How to pack is very essential too, so that you make the most of the space that you have with your bags. And obviously selecting what to bring. This is going to depend on the destination that you go to. So, when in doubt, obviously ask your 4C trip leader before you go on a trip. We'll have a checklist for you at the end of this presentation. So, if you'd like it, you can message us privately and we will send it to you. This checklist obviously is a guideline only. Requirements vary by destination, airlines, operators. They may want specific things. Divers are always responsible for their own equipment, their own documentation, and as well as medical readiness. That's something that is really important when we go on a trip, whether it's far or maybe just somewhere like the Caribbean. Being physically and medically fit for a dive trip is so important. So readiness as far as your packing, your physical condition, and being mentally prepared for a long trip. My pre-travel suggestions, okay? These are pro tips, okay? Check your airline for the appropriate dive gear baggage allowance. This is for your carry-on and your checked bags, okay? Very, very important. Usually when you're going to really far places, there is a really long flight and then maybe a shorter flights, typically your baggage allowance gets smaller than the longer destinations. So when I typically travel on a far destination on the long flight, I have a backpack for my carry-on and a roller bag. So I have two. One is more personal item, one is more carry-on, and you can take both of those on the plane with you. Obviously, check with your airline. And then I have 1 to 2 check bags. Most of the time, I can fit everything that I need in one check bag. And then I have, like I said, my backpack and my roller carry-ons for on the plane. Checking with your baggage allowance is very, very important. The weight restrictions and the sizes can vary via destination. So carrying things in your carry-on, such as anything that is fragile, your dive computers, your camera gear, your regulators, those are all things that should be in a backpack or a roller bag. The pro tip is backpacks are number one, okay? If you can only have one, do a backpack. Most of the time, the airlines don't really check backpacks. It's not all the time, but most of the time. When you see a roller bag, they almost always weigh it. So more than likely, you should always have a backpack before you should have a carry-on. And if you can have both, that's even better. I, unfortunately, will not be able to, be taking the, like my regulator and such in a backpack because I have camera gear and other things. So I put it in my check bag, but most of the time I think you should carry it on. So things before your trip also. This is just, like I said, pre-trip, just to get yourself ready. Selecting your dietary preference. If you're vegan, vegetarian, or you have like a specific need like gluten-free, you can call your airline ahead of time and you'll make sure that you can get your food and your meals. If you have a 10+ hour flight, they're going to feed you several meals. They will have it. You can do it on the app, on the airline app, or you can call them. And you can select that ahead of time to make sure you have your food that comes with the flight. Such as confirming your food, your seats, things like that beforehand, always a good idea, okay? Confirming your passport validity and your visa requirements, all very important. The other thing pre-trip is notifying your bank and your credit cards that you are traveling before you travel. Those are things that are very, very, very important. Okay, so we're going to start with packing now. The bags, like I had mentioned before, you have your check bag, 1 to 2 check bags, checking your size and the weight allowance, very, very important, and your backpack. Your carry-on should be a backpack. If you have to use a roller bag, they just are, they're more likely to check roller bags than they are to backpacks. And if you have both, that is great. If you can have a personal item on your back and a roller bag, that is ideal. And then you could put all of your dive gear into your checked bag. On this slide, it says to bring a mesh bag. Why would we want to do that? really, it depends on the destination, but a lot of places, especially in the Caribbean, when you're going out on the dive boats, they want an easy way to transfer your dive gear from either your hotel room or the dive shop area to the boat. So having a little rolled up mesh bag, throwing in your checked bag is a great idea. And then once you get to your destination, you can take it and put all your dive gear in there so that it stays on the boat and then can be easily moved back and forth. Okay, so getting specific about your checked bag, such as your total diving system, okay, your BC, we check. Your wetsuit, dependent on the thickness for your destination, we check that. Little pro tip, I have to always check my regulator and my mask. So I wrap my wetsuit, I wrap those things in my wetsuit, okay, because it's nice and comfy. And obviously using a mask box to kind of wrap those things. Wetsuit is nice and cushiony. So if you have anything that is somewhat fragile, it's a good idea to put it in there. Now, most time you want to put that in your carry-on, but if you are like me and have a camera with housing and strobes and all that stuff, and you just don't have the room, you can put that kind of stuff in your check bag. Just make sure it's protected. Wetsuit's a great idea to wrap it in. As far as your mask goes, mask can be in the check bag or in your carry-on. If you don't have the room in your carry-on, you could put it in your check bag. I prefer putting it in a mask box so that it stays protected. Always bring Reef Safe Defog with you to put in there, and it should be able to fit neatly in that mask box. I always bring a spare mask. Sounds crazy, but it's really not, because if one time you're diving, let's say you lose it or it falls off the boat or something like that, you always have your mask that is custom to fit your face. So I always have a backup mask that I bring with me. Your typical diving gear, your fins, your boots, your snorkel. People a lot of the time don't dive with snorkels. Bring a snorkel on any trip. Even if you don't always wear a snorkel, it's always a great underrated piece of gear to have, especially if you are, on a liveaboard in the Maldives, then all of a sudden you see a whale shark and they say, okay, you can go snorkel with it. You're going to be sad if you don't have your snorkel. Or if you're in Salt Key and you're swimming with humpback whales, you definitely want a snorkel. Okay, so bring those. Your accessories that you will need, such as your SMB with a reel, the SMB with the little spool. Awesome. Definitely bring that. Noisemaker. People think these are annoying, but you can either get like the little shaker one that has the magnet so it doesn't make noise all the time. You can bring one of those little quackers. It's really annoying when a whale shark swims by or something really amazing and you can't tell all your dive buddies that are in front of you what's going on. And then all of a sudden you're the only person to see it. So I like to bring something like that. You don't have to overuse it, but it's a good idea to have, especially on a dive trip. You're going to see some incredible stuff. Dive lights, primary and backup, very, very, very important. Okay, whether you're doing night dives or not, a dive light can be a safety device to signal the boat. It can be used for your night dives, like you look into holes and such. So I always bring a primary and a backup. Another good accessory is a reef hook. I'm going to show you a quick example of what a reef hook looks like. This varies by destination, okay? This is what a reef hook looks like. Not super common here in South Florida. I hope you guys can see this on the screen, okay? But in places like the Maldives, maybe Indonesia, areas, or maybe like Philippines, where you have a lot of current, this is sometimes essential, okay? And if you don't know how to use one of these, the dive guide on your trip will definitely do it for you and show you how to use it properly, okay? What they do is they kind of hook into like a rock, an area that isn't, pretty reef. And if there is a specific spot where you are supposed to be stationary in a big current, for example, in the Maldives, they want current on some of the dives so they get all the fish and the sharks and such. This will help you so that you're not fighting the current and you just kind of watch the show. So it's a great idea to bring a reef hook, especially if you're going to a place you've never been before, such as maybe the Maldives or Raja and Pot. These are places that are known for having a lot of currents. So definitely we'll use one of those. The next thing I'm going to show you is, if you don't have one of these, you need to go to 4C today, tomorrow. Well, we're going to be close soon, but maybe tomorrow, and get one. This is a DIN to yoke adapter. If you are DIN, like you have a DIN regulator, this is essential because now you're both yoke and DIN. A lot of places in maybe like Asia and areas that are really far, they do have DIN cylinders, but a lot of places in the Caribbean do not. They may have some DIN cylinders, but they may be limited, or sometimes those little inserts get seized inside the tanks, so they are only able to use yoke. So having one of these is essential. It's not real heavy. It's small. Throw it in your check bag. The next thing I wanted to bring up is a Save a Dive kit. Okay. It doesn't have to be a real extensive, nothing crazy. Okay. But a small little mask box will do, with an extra mask strap, an extra fin strap, a mouthpiece extra for your regulator, some zip ties, maybe one of those little tools with the O-ring picks. Okay. Those are all wonderful things to keep in your Save a Dive kit. And it doesn't have to be, a big kit. It could be small, but those are essential items. Now, most of the destinations, when you go to a place at the resort, they have these things. But if you're on the boat and all of a sudden your fin strap breaks and you don't have an extra mask, there's where your Save a Dive kit would come into play. Or maybe your mouthpiece breaks and you want to do the second dive. These are things that are easily changeable on the boat that can really save your dive. And last but certainly not least is a save, what do you call this? Like a GPS or some kind of safety lifeline. Okay. This isn't necessarily necessary, but in a lot of places it may be. So for instance, in Socorro, when you go to Socorro, you're in the middle of nowhere. The boat will supply you most of the time with a Nautilus lifeline. They have really deep water. They have crazy currents. So if for some reason you got swept up or you got separated from the rest of the group, you can press the button and signal the boat. It also has an SOS signal that will alert all of the dive boats, the Coast Guard. It's a very, very good safety device, and we also sell these at 4C. So if you want more information on how to get one, you can message us after this presentation, and I'll be happy to help you with that. Just a little disclaimer on this slide. Do not put batteries in your checked bag. We're going to talk about what goes in your carry-on bag next. Okay, gear that we will be putting in the carry-on. If you can fit your regulator, that is great. Okay, I personally cannot, but that's a great thing if you have the room. A dive computer. Always put your dive computer in your carry-on. Do not check your dive computer, okay? Down at the bottom of the plane, it gets compressed. There's issues with messing with your compass and such like that, so do not put your dive computer in there. It also has a battery in there. You definitely don't want to check it. So always put that in your backpack if possible, okay? I wrote on here, bring a backup, okay? Maybe not everybody can afford a backup dive computer, but you can also just get like a little cheapy puck computer, and it doesn't have to be a Garmin or a Shearwater, but having a backup computer, even just like in your BC pocket, is really, really great idea in case something happens and you're on, a dive and it's 50 minutes into the dive and all of a sudden your computer craps out. At least you have a backup to know where you are and what's going on in the dive, how deep you are, what your dive time is, and your NDLs. Your mask should go in your carry-on if possible. It can go in your check bag as well if it's protected. Okay, so electronics and camera gear. So important to put this in your carry-on, okay? Your lighting for your strobes for your camera, your video lights, your housing for your camera, any part of your camera should go in your carry-on, okay? Extra memory cards for your camera. All of that stuff needs to be in a carry-on, okay? Those are items that you don't want to check. They don't want to be slammed around. They're very expensive. You have a GoPro, you have an Insta360, whatever you have. If you're like me, I have a ton of things that are going to record all of my awesome dives when I'm traveling. Make sure it all goes in your backpack. If you can't fit it all in your backpack, do, like I said, a backpack and a roller bag. Electronics, okay, such as batteries, your iPad, maybe you're bringing your computer or your iPad and you're going to upload all your photos at the end of each day. All of that stuff must go in a carry-on, okay? A universal AC adapter, okay? This is a really awesome item, and there's a few different ones that you can get, and I will show you one. Give me 1 second. I have two different kinds over here. This is one, and the back changes. So if you don't know what these are, when you are leaving the country, you may not have your standard outlet plug. You may have something like this. You may have something like this. So these are really great because they're going to be able to charge all of your electronics without worrying about having issues with plugging in. Because when you go to places like maybe the Maldives or areas, typically in the Caribbean, they're going to have standard, our standard outlets such as this, but they may not, especially if you go far away. So bringing stuff like this will save you a lot of heartache. If you can't charge your gear, you going to be sad about that. So a universal AC adapter is a must. A portable power bank. I'm sure most of you guys have this. It's just basically a little power bank. If your phone dies or your laptop dies or something dies, you can plug it right in. Long flights, this is wonderful to have. If you're watching your, episodes of your show that you downloaded, you can have it in there. The one thing I will caution you is that power banks must be airline approved, meaning I believe it's 20,000 mAh. I'll double check that, but there's a certain allowance of how big your battery bank can be. So make sure your portable power banks are checked before. You don't want to bring like a huge one and then have it taken away. I learned that the hard way a long time ago. So make sure that they're not like 80,000, which is good to charge like 12 iPhones. They will not let you bring it on the plane. It's just too big. Another thing I wanted to put in here, which I will show you, and this sounds kind of funny, but it's a power strip. If you can fit this is a wonderful thing to bring on a dive trip, okay? Think of it this way. You're on a liveaboard or in a resort. You're sharing a room with your dive buddy, and you each have 2 GoPros, someone's got a camera, you have your laptop, you have your strobes. There's a lot of things to charge, and you may only have 1 or 2 little outlets on each side of the room. You will not have enough to charge your electronics. So bringing this will save you. So I always bring one of these because it's a good item to have. And this is another pro tip. Bring your reusable water bottle, okay? This is so important, okay? This is the most underrated thing to bring, okay? Reusable water bottle is wonderful, especially if you have a lot of like land excursions. I know on our trip in 2024, we went to Raja and Pot, and we had a pre-trip where we did Bali. We had our reusable water bottles. We did all kinds of really cool waterfall hikes and temple tours, and everybody use their reusable water bottle. When you're out in a foreign country and you know that the water is clean at the resort or the specific area that you're going, you fill up, and then throughout the day you're good, okay? So always bring a reusable water bottle. If you don't have room for this in your carry-on, you can put this in your check bag, just leave it empty, and then when you get to your destination, you can refill it. Obviously, making sure it's empty if it's in your carry-on, because you can't bring a large amount of water. Okay, so another thing I wanted to bring up in your carry-on is a biodegradable travel wipes. This is something more of a personal thing that I like to bring. Here's the brand that I really like. This isn't a paid sponsorship or anything like that. I just like being eco-friendly. And if you're on, a 12+ hour flight, these are small. They can be crunched up and just shoved into a bag. They are like antibacterial, they're antimicrobial, and they'll just kind of keep you clean. If you're on a 12, 14, 15 hour flight and you can't go shower, this is a wonderful thing to just like help keep you fresh. Another thing I wanted to mention for a no-no is you should not pack your dive tool on a trip, especially in your carry-on. Okay, if you accidentally forget your BC, you have a line cutter or a knife, it might be okay, but do not put it on your carry-on because it will be confiscated. This is kind of like just everything that you should probably avoid packing. So we've talked about what we should pack as far as your dive gear goes. Now this is what you should kind of avoid packing altogether. Okay. Spears. This is kind of dependent on the destination. Okay. I know that you're maybe on a lionfish hunting expedition and you're bringing your check bag. You have your spears and your tips and your lionfish zookeeper. Okay. If you've checked with that destination and it's okay, then you're probably all right. Okay. But if you go to a place like the Caymans, they will confiscate this at the airport and they will hold it until you get back to the airport on your last day. They will not let you bring it. So always check these kind of things before you just pack them and hope for the best. Okay. Like I'd mentioned before, large power banks, just make sure you bring airline approved ones. You don't want to bring really large power banks on an airplane. Okay. Camouflage clothing can be illegal in some countries, so you always check. Drones are really cool, but they are restricted in many destinations, so check first. Okay. Another thing I want to mention as an eco-friendly diver, use of single-use plastics. Okay. Try to avoid this if you can, especially if, we'll talk about toiletries later, but when it comes to bringing like your shampoos and all those kind of things, if you can use stuff like a soap bar or shampoo bar or something to avoid using single-use plastic, that is really the way to go. Okay. We're divers. We're stewards of the environment. We want to make sure we're doing our part. If you do have to bring single-use plastics, make sure they leave with you. You don't want to bring those kind of single-use plastics and just leave them on the boat so that they get discarded. A lot of places in areas that are not the United States, they may not have a wonderful way to dispose of all kinds of trash. They may burn it. It may go into the ocean. You don't know. So it's always a good idea to make sure you take what you brought. Okay. Don't leave a bunch of single-use plastics. It's not a great way to travel. Be a eco-friendly tourist. Excess valuables that you're not going to use, excess makeup and hair products, all that stuff, guys. You're in a dive destination. You're not like going out for formal night. So I wouldn't recommend bringing all kinds of makeup and extra things. It's just a waste. It's a waste of space in your bag. So I don't recommend bringing all that stuff. Okay. Bring what you need. Many places do not allow gloves on dive destinations. So some do and some don't. Always ask before. If you're going to a marine park or sanctuary that is underwater, most likely you're not going to want to wear gloves. You're not going to bring gloves. You can always ask. And then obviously large liquids, 3.4 ounces for carry-on, anything that's over that. I know I love the Stream to Sea leave-in conditioner, and I bring a big bottle with me, but I put it in my check bag and I actually wrap it in a reusable Ziploc bag, because those bags can get thrown or knocked around, and I've had them open. So you just make sure that it's sealed in a bag so that if for some reason it does crack open or something, it is sealed and it doesn't get the rest of your dive gear full of conditioner or shampoo or anything. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about personal stuff. Okay, so we've got all of our dive gear, we've got all of our camera gear, everything that we're going to need underwater. Now let's talk about land, what we need. So clothes, think everything lightweight, think sun protection, swimsuits, cover-ups, not formal nights, so no one's going to be needing anything really fancy, but those really nice Space Fish Army pants like in the photo, or the tops, those are great for SPF protection. They also dry really fast. I always bring a lightweight windbreaker or jacket for rain or wind, okay? Because when you're on the boat, windbreakers are awesome. Sometimes you may be out, like Nicole is searching for the whales for a little while, and it might get a little bit windy. So those windbreakers are excellent. And they also provide you some shelter from the sun. Nice hats, okay? Keep all of that stuff so that you don't get burnt, okay? Modest clothing, cover-ups for cultural sites. So what does this mean? There may be certain areas where you always check before. Maybe in the Maldives, you're not allowed to wear a spaghetti strap or a bikini. So making sure that you're respecting the local culture, and you're wearing shorts, not really, really short ones, and you're wearing shirts that cover your shoulders in specific destinations. This isn't everywhere. It's just specific areas. We want to respect everybody's choices. So as far as that goes, sun protection is extremely important. Hat, sunglasses. And when it comes to a hat, I wouldn't really bring one of those big, wide brimmed straw hats, because they're going to get destroyed in your travel. So bring something that can easily be folded up or just shoved into your backpack. As far as shoes go, I am loving the Cross Kicks, the ones that we sell. Also, they're called Cloud Nines. And there's another one. Oh my gosh, I forgot. The Keens and the Tevas, all wonderful shoes. Okay. These are ones that aren't necessarily just sandals, but they're shoes that can get wet and you don't always have to wear socks with them. So definitely a wonderful idea to bring something that you can walk around in all day, that you're going to be comfortable in, that also are not going to get like stinky and gross if you get them wet. And obviously, like, sandals are most of the time what you're going to wear when you're just like on the dive boat back and forth at a resort. Okay, so hygiene products. This is personal because everybody brings specific things. Girls and guys, wear and do different things for personal stuff. Like, girls usually are more into the shampoos and the conditioners, but usual things, your toothbrush, your floss, things like that. If you can, like I said, use reusable containers and stuff that you can refill instead of things that get thrown away. Soap bars and shampoo bars and conditioner bars are really great because they'll save space. So look at that. I know Stream to See is an awesome brand. We really, really love them and we carry them. They're my favorite personally. So the sunscreen, they sell the leave-in conditioner. I keep it on the dive boat when I'm on a trip. They have an after sun care also with like aloe. There's a ton of different things that they have, and some of them are really small, so you can throw everything in a small bag. Bug spray depends on the destination, but it doesn't hurt to just bring a small bottle of bug spray. You can throw it in your check bag if you're worried about your baggage allowance, because usually you're going to run out of your carry-on before you run out of the check bag. Okay, this is something that you probably wouldn't think of, but it is so important, and I always bring these things on a dive trip, okay? Obviously, we're just talking about over-the-counter stuff. I'm not telling you that you need to go get antibiotics from your doctor. It's not a bad idea, but I am not a doctor, so I'm not going to give medical advice. But what I will say is this. Bringing in antihistamines, such as Benadryl, is very, very important. I always bring over-the-counter Benadryl. I bring anti-inflammatories such as ibuprofen, Tylenol, okay, anything like that. Or if you take aspirin, things like that. If somebody gets a headache on the trip, if you get you bang your leg and you're in a little bit of pain, those things that are just over-the-counter that you can bring on your trip, okay, very, very helpful. Pepto is something that is great to bring, and you don't have to use the liquid. You can buy it in pill form. I have a little med kit that has all of this stuff in it, and I bring it on every destination, and somebody on any trip always will either want motion sickness medication, or maybe they have some kind of ear issue and they want ear drops. So these really do come in handy for yourself, or if you wanted to share with your dive buddy. Once again, these are over-the-counter things. I'm not telling you to prescribe antibiotics to anybody. We're not doctors. So I did put in here cold and flu medication. If for some reason you are sick on a dive trip, okay, and it's like halfway through the trip and you're in the middle of, the sea and on a liveaboard, these things can really be a lifesaver. I like the Tylenol cold and flu multi-symptom because it can help you sleep and it has all kinds of stuff. They have a daytime one and a nighttime one. I bring both of those. Obviously, seasickness medication such as Bonine is very, very necessary to bring on any kind of liveaboard. board, whether you don't really get motion sickness, or you never know, you could go into Socorro and get rough seas, and you normally don't, but you may get it this time, so it doesn't hurt to bring it. As far as prescription antibiotics go, if it's advised by your doctor, if you talk to your doctor and they want to prescribe you like ear drops for in case you get an ear infection, or like a broad spectrum antibiotic because they're worried that you're going to be in the middle of the sea, and in case you get a sinus infection or something like that. Obviously, talk to your doctor if they're going to allow you to bring something like that in case you need it. It's not a bad idea. The swimmer's ear drops, in case someone gets an ear infection, they are gold. As far as bug spray and insect repellent goes, you can also put that in this bag. One thing I will say that is very important: your personal medications. If you have a prescription that you normally take every day and it's essential to you, bring a copy of your prescription. This is something you don't normally think about, but let's say you lost your bag or something happened and you can't find your prescription. If you have a copy of your prescription, in most places, you'll be able to get that filled, okay? A lot of times the the way that you get medicine in other countries is different. It may be easier to get, may not, but it doesn't hurt to have a copy of your prescription medication if it's something that's essential to you. A hydration packet, like Liquid IV hydration, those little packets, those are great to bring. If for some reason you were sick, or maybe you got a stomach bug from eating food that you're not used to eating, and maybe you got a little bit sick, this is really great because it keeps you hydrated. Being hydrated on a dive trip is so important. You guys know that, dive DCS correlates very well to hydration. Okay, so if you are very dehydrated, you're likely to get DCS. So make sure you stay hydrated, and those little Liquid IV packets are awesome to put in a little packet, a little med bag like this. Another thing I wanted to say is a small first aid kit. Okay, this doesn't mean you need to bring like an oxygen bottle or anything crazy. Okay, but a small first aid kit, meaning a bag with Band-Aids, Neosporin, maybe like a set of tweezers, or something that if you get a little cut, you can patch yourself up, because you never know, there could be bacteria and weird stuff from other countries that your body's not used to. And Band-Aids, obviously, if you get a splinter, things like that, those are, I've used them in the past on trips. They are wonderful things to have. Okay, so let's go into, you've packed. We need to know about paperwork that is important to bring on your dive trips, okay? Obviously, your passport is a gimme. You need that, okay? Always check your expiration date before you travel, and a while before you travel, because many places require 6 months verified on there. Meaning if you're going right now to Salt Key and your passport expires in April, you may not be able to go. You need 6 months valid on that passport. So check those things way before your trip, because it takes a little bit of time to get your passport, okay? If you're going to a specific area where you need a visa, make sure you know and are doing the appropriate customs forms and the visa check forms before you go, okay? I know when you go to Raja and Pot, when you go on one of our trips, we make it very easy for you, and we tell you every single step that you need to do before you get to that trip, so there is no issues. Dive travel insurance is so important, and dive medical insurance and travel insurance is gold. Okay. Obviously, if you're going on a trip, even if you don't travel, you should definitely have Dan. You should 100% have dive medical insurance. It's so cheap. You're talking like $60, $70 a year. And if for some reason you got hurt, they pay for the transportation, the chamber ride, being in the hyperbaric chambers, like $10,000 an hour. Okay. Hopefully you never have to use this, but it's one of those things that's so cheap, and it's very, very important that you have in case you do need to use it. For dive travel insurance, it's really great, especially if you're paying for a $5,000-$6,000 trip. If something happens or you break your leg a week before the trip, something, you never know. Tons of unforeseen events could happen. A hurricane could come. You just don't know. There are many reasons to have dive travel insurance. If you want my specific recommendation, message me after this presentation and I could tell you the ones that I recommend. A printed itinerary of your trip in case you can't access your emails, or let's say you're in an airport and there's no service. It's a good idea to have those kind of things. As far as paperwork goes, emergency contact list with if you have a specific allergy, that's a wonderful thing to have. And you should always talk to your dive buddy or 4C group leader, whoever's leading the trip, and let them know if you have a specific allergy. Most of the time before a dive trip, you're actually filling out all of this information online. If it's a liveaboard, they have a form you fill out. If it's a resort, they have a form you fill out. Even we have a form you fill out on our trips. And these kind of things, they ask you, what's your dietary preference? They ask you if you have any specific allergies or medical things. They want to know, because if there's something that goes on the trip, they want to make sure they can handle it accordingly. Obviously, like the waivers ahead of time and any kind of releases that you need, minor releases, those all need to be done ahead of time at most places. And last but certainly not least, your C card. If it's on your phone, great. If you have a physical card, that's fine too. Just don't lose it. Your logbook is also great to bring, because some places may require you to have 50 dives, 100 dives to do specific dives, because they may be more advanced and they want to make sure that you are ready for something like this. Okay, super important for long flights. These are things that I love and I use on every long flight. I've taken like 16 plus hour flights, and these things really, really save you. So for one, long flights, you want compression socks. Okay, compression socks are really, really great, and they help you, and they help any kind of swelling. So if you're sitting in the same spot for a really, really long time, especially if you're eating the like super salty foods on the airplanes, your legs can get like a little bit of water in them, and it's not wonderful when you have like kind of swollen feet and legs. So having compression socks really does help. It's also a great idea on a long flight to get up, walk around. As soon as the seatbelt sign is off, get some exercise, stretch your legs. Definitely a great idea. Noise canceling headphones. So your AirPods or whatever you use, bring those and make sure they're nice and charged before a long flight. Okay. A face mask is awesome. Okay. A face mask and a neck pillow. There's something I want to show you really quick. This is one that I recently started using. Like I said, not a paid sponsor ad or anything. But it looks kind of funny, so don't laugh. But it is a face mask with a pillow, and there's this weird little strap. Okay. What this does is you put the pillow behind your head, you put the mask strap ready, and what it does is it straps to the back of the seat. There's like a little hook thing that goes on the back of the seat. And a lot of times when you're using a little neck pillow, it won't hold you up, and you'll kind of be like left and right, and you'll get cranked. So the purpose of this is that it holds it to your forehead with the mask, so that you're basically like strapped, and it helps you sleep so that your body doesn't fall to the left or right. You definitely don't want to wake up and you're like next to like leaning on some stranger that you don't know on a long flight. So this is one. If you want the link for it, I will send it to you. I really, really love this one because I have trouble sleeping on planes, and I don't like my neck to get cranked with a regular neck pillow. I can't sleep with one. This one I can sleep with. It's really, really, really awesome. Obviously, beforehand, you're going to want to get all of your reading material, download your favorite season of your show or your podcast or your playlist, like get all of that stuff ready to go and charge before your flight, so that if you can't sleep, you can, watch all of your favorite shows, and that'll help keep you entertained. This is silly, but it's important. Bring a pen, okay? Any kind of pen is great because you're going to always have customs forms to fill out. You'll always have something to write in your immigration forms and such. So it's a good idea to have a pen handy on you. And this is something that is mine and Nicole's preference on a dive trip. We like to bring Uno Flip. And if you want to talk more about Uno Flip, we'll send you the link on where to get these cards. It's not just normal Uno game; it's the Flip, which is a whole nother side that's really fun, and you can just do all kinds of more fun stuff with it. So we like these specific card games. If you like a specific card game, bring it on the trip, because if you're on a flight, or typically when you're sitting in an air, like in the actual plane, you're not going to be able to play with like 5 or 6 people because you only have 3 or 4 seats in a row. But when you're on the layover, you can get everybody at the table, and if you have like an 8-hour layover, everyone can play Flip or whatever card games you like and kind of keep you entertained. One thing I will also mention, since I was mentioning layovers, is the if you have specific credit cards, you can get into certain airport lounges. Most of you may know this, but if you have like an 8-hour layover in Dubai or something like that, they have these really cool lounges where they have sleeping pods and buffets. So check with your credit card to see what lounges you can get into, because you may be able to get free food, free drinks, and you can go to sleep and then wake up when it's ready to go to your airline. So awesome. Okay, so that pretty much concludes the whole presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to answer some questions if anybody has. Let's see. Nicole, are you here?
Hello.
Hello. I hope you guys liked my presentation.
Actually, there's not that many questions. It's just more some extra little tidbits. And this is something that you wouldn't know because you young little eyeballs that you have, my old eyeballs, obviously packing your prescription glasses, but then also I have some extra cheaters that I got from the drugstore in case these break. And then some people use contact lenses, so bringing the solution and the extra contact lens in case one falls out on you. So that was that was in here. But yeah, I mean, everyone had some really good ideas too on games. And also, someone did want to tell you that Sudafed is illegal in Mexico, in case people didn't know that. So again, when you are looking at your over-the-counter drugs, then maybe you might need to make sure that even though they're out of over-the-counter in the U.S., that maybe somewhere else in the world they aren't necessarily. So fun fact, you guys, I just love telling the story. So I went to do the whale sharks down in Mexico. This was years ago, by the way. And of course, the whale sharks approaching, and they're like, get in, get in. And I jumped off this. I didn't jump. I slid my body off the boat, and I caught like a bolt off the side of the boat, and I ripped a big old gash in my leg, and it was bleeding. But you know what? I'm here to see a whale shark. I didn't care. So I jump in. I enjoy my whale sharks. It was amazing. I go in, and I'm in this small little town, and I go, there's no real urgent care that can patch me up, stitch me up. So I had to walk into this little medicine doctor guy, and I go, can you help me? He says, put your leg on the table. And he just threw some fresh water and some white powder on it and said, adios. And I'm like, oh boy. And I was certain that I was going to have an infection, an infected leg, and going to have surgery. But you know what? I don't know what the heck he put on my leg, but it worked. I have a very nasty scar, but it worked. So, like I said, you just never know what they might have down south or anywhere in the world. So just keep that in mind. And that's just a little fun story about me having a little panic attack about me needing stitches when I was Fees.
I also
and then
pack good snacks. I see Jana adding in there. Yes, I personally, that's kind of like personal preference of what you want to bring, and always be careful because if it's any kind of liquidy stuff, you may get it taken. But if you can fit in your backpack, maybe like your protein bars or whatever extra, they're save you some money when you're on a long layover, so you don't have to buy airport food.
Awesome. Well, guys, there's probably other things you can pack too, but again, these are just some things that Rachel has seen over the years that has helped her pack and also helped give others. And like she said, we are going to have that checklist available for you guys. Give us a second. I am down in Salt Key. With very limited cell and Wi-Fi, so we will get that, and we'll make little printout PDFs and be able to have them in the stores for you to come collect, or we can always email it, or we're going to put it on our website, on the travel website. So actually, that's what I'm going to do right now, since we have everybody. If you don't know where to find out where our travel trips are, okay, on our website. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this. Doop, and then I'm going to share my screen. Okay. If you go to www.force-e.com, oh boy, let's show it in the stream. There it is. Okay. You go to the top right here and it says travel. Click that and you're going to get this page. And these are all of the trips that Rachel has planned for you guys. Whether they're day trips or week-long trips, they're all here with a little bit of information. Then you click into them to see a little bit more. Now, down below here, we have all the diving insurance that she talked about. This is all in here. You can click these links. All right. So if you want to utilize that, and again, I'll probably stick the PDF somewhere right here so that you guys can have it to be able to reference when you do check when you start to pack your bags for a trip. So stay tuned. It's coming. All right. But we're really excited that you guys joined us tonight. Thank you, Rachel, for such a great presentation. And really quick, in the comments before we stop this Facebook Live, type in the comments which 4C trip you're on in the future. Not the one.
Yeah.
Remember in the beginning, we said type the ones you've been on. Now that you've heard our presentation, which ones are you on for 2026, 2027, 2028? Rachel.
I'm going to start rolling off the trips. Are you on Red Sea coming up with Egypt? Are you on Cuba in June? Are you going to San Salvador in July? Are you going to Grenada in August? Are you going to Fiji in October? Or are you going to Thailand with me in December? That's just this year. I can start next year too.
yeah. Let's hear them because they're not on the website. Where else are we going?
Next year, well, we have Tuba Taha. So Tuba Taha for next year. For sure, we're going to go back to Salt Key to swim with those humpback whales. As soon as I have a date, it'll be in February. I can't wait to go back. You got this year. I get it.
And we want 2 trips. 2 trips, Rachel. We want back to back. We've already talked about it down here.
Maybe we'll do 2 trips. Maybe we will. I'll have to talk with them about that. Woo! And then obviously all the cool Bimini trips. And next year we have Tuba Taha, which, I'm so excited about that trip. That would be like a mixture of Raja, Socorro, with Philippines, because you got the big stuff, you have the pelagics, you have the beautiful soft corals, you also have the cool critters like the pygmy seahorses and all that stuff, and whale sharks. So Tuba Taha next year in May. And then at the end of next year, we're going to go to the Galapagos. We also next year, in between that, we have Wakatobi. So these are all amazing dive trips that will be for the following year. So think about it, guys. Keep dreaming of which places you want to go, and then let me know. We've already had some flyers put up for next year, and we are already taking deposits. I think we're about halfway full already for Tubataha. So if you are just thinking about it, you will not get on a trip. Make sure you contact us to get on these trips because they do fill up. I do have a few spots left now. We just had a couple people sign up for Thailand yesterday. We do have a couple spots left for Thailand. We still have a few spots for Fiji this year. We also have a few spots for Grenada and San Salvador. So if you guys would like to get on our trips, either go to force-e.com or give one of us a ring and we will get you signed up.
Okay, and so a couple of people, they gone on here late. So now that we have everyone's attention, go ahead and put me right here. This is what we saw today. Okay, everyone, here you go. There it is.
Jelly.
There it is, everybody.
I heard you guys saw a heat run.
Yes, we did. So this is 3 males right here, and they were just silently gliding along the bottom. So there it is, everybody. That's what we got to see today.
Very cool.
And guess what? We have 2 more days of that. Woo!
So
all right. All right, guys. Well, thank you, Rachel, back in Florida. I'm here in Salt Key, but it is time for me to go check on my divers. They're out for a night dive, so I got to go check and make sure they came back.
Great to talk to you all.
Bye.